Sword Art Online is one of those shows you either hate to love or love to hate. At this point, it's become the North Face jacket with ponytail and leggings combo anime. A while ago, I talked about how Attack on Titan may have been the most important anime of the decade in regards to bringing in new fans, but I was thinking a little too small and also totally forgot about Sword Art Online. Whoopsies! But that's what happens when something becomes so standard. It's just kind of always there. Before it got weird to the point of cringe.
It's okay, Kirito.
I kinda like it. Sword Art Online already lit the fuse for a multi-year isekai explosion among many other mainstream cliches. I loved the first 14 episodes of the show when it dropped. Asuna was best grill and I was able to overlook the plot holes and weirdness. SAO was a lot of fun back then. And then it got shitty. Which is a shame because the series has actually picked itself back up, and I feel like the hardcore weebs that moved on from the commercial vanilla ice cream are missing out on a show finally getting to the point. Creator Reiki Kawahara had one goal with Sword Art Online, one theme: to merge the real and virtual until they are so indistinguishable that you aren't certain which is more important. When 10,000 people are trapped inside a digital world where dying in-game means death in real life, the lines between what's real and what's not truly start to blur. If you're watching Alicization: War of the Underworld, the plot points truly make you begin to question what matters in life, what's important, and whether a created being is less important than an organic one. SAO is completely about getting the viewer to question reality and also whether or not their first cousin is on the market. Besides the latter part, it's essentially Serial Experiments Lane, the less convoluted PG-13 version. Say what you will about Sword Art Online, but in its specific goal, it surpasses all expectations. So it should come as no surprise that the emotional draw, the events that make you feel for its characters, are not happening under our sun, but within the pixels of a game. Kirito's love for the virtual world and his inability to prioritize it as lesser than the real world creates an unforgettable and powerful experience for almost every viewer, which has only grown in significance over the last decade. So let's get into it. We got merch! That's right, I made you some shirts and they're being produced by our buds over at thepixelempire.com. Use code Bonsai Pop to get 10% off the entire site and grab yourself a tank, tee, or hoodie. But wait, it gets even better. This weekend, the Pixel Empire is having a store-wide sale and our code STACKS, so get 10% off plus an additional 10% off that. Whoa, but wait, it gets even betterer than that. All our patrons at any tier get access to a special Patreon code for 15% off Bonsai Pop merch and the option to purchase our exclusive Patreon Club hoodie. Whoa! So go to thepixelempire.com and use code Bonsai Pop at checkout, or head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Bonsai Pop. Join for $1 and save 10 times that. That is one hell of a deal we have concocted just for you. You buy them, we'll make more. Now on with the show. You all know the story of SAO. A teenage boy with a gaming addiction dives into a fully virtual world, the first of its kind, Sword Art Online. 10,000 players are stuck inside the game indefinitely. If anyone from the outside world attempts to take off their headsets, their brains will be fried by plot device. And if your HP in-game reaches 0, you also become a brain omelet by said plot device. This is the first and arguably the most important part of any SAO arc. It cements this idea that what happens in the virtual world impacts the real world, an idea that still felt fairly new in 2013. Today it seems kind of obvious virtual experiences do impact the real world. My friends, my job, so much of my life is online, it's impossible for me to see it any other way. But it wasn't always that way. I don't know about you, but my parents typically thought all virtual experiences were relatively bad for me. Too many video games, too much TV, too much internet, anything on screen would negatively affect me in the long run. But look at me now. I stare at a screen for over 8 hours a day, do nothing but watch anime and play video games, see the sun maybe twice a week, and suffer from crippling anxiety attacks and existential dread. Your boy is a star, mummy. But SAO's initial plot progression seems to back this idea that too much virtual anything is bad for you. So bad that it might get you killed. As we follow Kirito through his story, we see awful things happen. People die, commit seppuku, kill each other, all because they're trapped inside a game. The first 5 or so episodes are incredibly dark when looked at objectively, yet the main lesson of Sword Art's first arc is not that the virtual world is a dangerous place, it's that the virtual world has impact, real impact, both good and bad. We see the bad first, but the connection Kirito finds with his friends, the strength he achieves with his virtual sword, and the love he nurtures with Asuna are all real. Fictionally real, but you know what I mean. They don't stop once the nerve gear comes off. Kirito is the driving force behind this feeling of realism within a virtual place despite his bullshit unrealistic ability. And it's an important aspect touched on by Asuna during the first arc. She explains that she used to feel like each day in-game was a day lost in the outside world. But it was Kirito who opened her eyes to see that she was living, gaining a day in Aincrad instead of losing one in Japan. The Mother's Rosario arc is often overlooked, probably because it perfectly accentuates this idea and speaks to me on a level deeper than the rest of the show. Meaning, it's not that fun. Mother's Rosario is centered around the relationship Asuna develops with a terminally ill 15-year-old girl named Yuki. She's the test subject for the Mediki Boyd, a medical full dive technology that allows her to dive full-time while simultaneously blocking out the pain she'd feel from her illness. She's been in the system for over 3 years, a full year longer than Asuna and Kirito were stuck in SAO. While Asuna decides to befriend Yuki for a remaining few months, the only thing Yuki really wants to do is attend school and visit her old family home. Her story is a merging of what's important between the virtual and real world, and it's a lesson that continually gets stronger as technology becomes more and more immersed in our daily lives. And while her funeral has many attendees, in ALO, the entire game stopped to pay tribute to her life. It's scenes like this with hundreds of thousands of people gathering online for one person that show what SAO is all about. You know, besides the waifus. The deeds we do, whether virtual or not, matter. Just because something is intangible doesn't mean it can't have an impact. There's a reason fictional stories affect people, from the Bible to Grant Morrison's new X-Men run in 2001, which was baller as f***. It doesn't matter if they're fictitious, because in some respects, whether it's themes, the characters, or the stories, some part of it is real and we can feel that. This is the significance that Sword Art Online had on a generation and its impact that continues to grow over time. That and the waifus. Computers, phones, video games, TV, virtual reality, augmented reality, it all aims for a feeling of immersion to show us that what's happening on a screen is important. It used to be that having friends online was awkward and weird. You could be judged for having important people in your life you never met. Nowadays, many people have online friends. Hell, this channel is made up of 4 people in 3 different locations across the country, thousands of miles apart. And it's not just friendships. Online dating is the most popular form of dating. Tinder, Bumble, OkCupid, Grindr, Plenty of Fish, Coffee Meets Bagel, J-Date, Farmers Only. The ways people find each other and contract STDs over the web is astounding. I talk to people daily that I met because of this channel or Treesicle. People from Norway, Central Africa, down to Southern Asia, across the ocean to Brazil, who share a love of anime or video games and just want to spend some time with others like them. And a lot of them are hanging out in the Patreon Discord right now, just waiting for you. We use the virtual world so naturally in our lives that there's barely a line to be drawn anymore. That's the point SAO has been trying to make all along. That, and it's totally cool for you to bang your cousin. But this theme is taken to a new level in the current season. Alicization is continuing the bridging of the virtual worlds and real worlds by making something that we have always considered a human-only or real-world-only trait available to virtual people. People who do not exist at all outside the confines of the game. All the main characters in Alicization, besides Kirito, are NPCs. A term I use loosely because they have working souls. They have free choice. They live real lives, despite being in a virtual world. And it's these virtual people that are needed to heal Kirito's natural soul. I'll mark spoiler territory for Alicization here because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's decided to pick up the newest season. Alright, there's definitely waifus. Alicization takes Kirito to an entirely new level of virtual fuckery. Upon an encounter with the last Laughing Coffin member in the real world, Kirito suffers heavy brain damage due to a poison EpiPen. He may never wake back up. In an attempt to save him, Kirito is transported to a clandestine facility in the middle of the ocean where he's hooked up to a new machine called the Soul Translator that places him in a virtual world, but it's not a game. This machine connects to a person's fluctlight, a quantum field that is regarded as the soul instead of a brain. Who the fuck comes up with this shit? While creating this machine, they were able to copy human souls, making artificial ones. Every person Kirito meets in this world has a soul, an artificial fluctlight. The company that runs and operates the facility, known as Wrath, created artificial fluctlights for the sole purpose of building advanced bottom-up AI that can adapt easily and pilot unmanned weapons. Basically think Clone Wars, but not the Clone Wars because it's better than the Clone Wars because everything's better than the Clone Wars. They're just clones, right? And clones aren't real people. In Alicization, this is the same idea. They're just AI based off our souls, but they aren't real. However, Alicization brings to light the question of whether artificial intelligence is less less of a priority than us regular people born normally. To us, it's a no-brainer. Our computer doesn't mean as much as a human life. But what if your computer had a soul? What if it had emotions, feelings, and could care about you? When do we get to the point where technology and creator are no longer different? And in this newest arc, we're at the point where Kirito is utterly useless. He literally cannot talk and barely move. Yet the AI around him care for him and protect him, so much so they are literally able to break through certain programming to support him in what they believe is right. When you get to the point that you're caring for others because you can't tell the difference between a real waifu and one that is made of ones and zeros, is there really a distinction anymore? Sword Art Online has been a constant journey to find that answer, and as the anime has progressed, it's clear that Kawahara's answer is no. There isn't. And while the light novels began back in 2002 when this idea was radical, now it's much more murky. We have artificial intelligence. It still looks like machines and robots right now, but these questions about the virtual and real world have only gotten stronger and more relevant. We live in a technological age. Our lives are surrounded by technology. Is it so surprising that our lives might follow the same path as SAO's themes? First comes the question whether or not what's virtual matters the same as what is tangible. I believe we're at the point now where many of us can say that the things we experience online are certainly as impactful and real to us as what happens in reality right in front of our faces. But how far away are we from questioning what is real and what isn't? Google recently achieved quantum supremacy, which means a quantum computer solved a complex problem faster than a standard one. Quantum computers compute using subatomic particles rather than electronic switches. Maybe that quantum bullshit SAO said was the basis of the soul isn't so far off, and one day our computers will be able to really truly tap into it to create conscious beings. How far are we from questioning what actually constitutes life and what is artificial? When something comprised of ones and zeros has thoughts, feelings, emotions, it's real enough to me. Hell, sometimes I accidentally say thank you to Alexa.
Alexa, thank you for your honesty.
And that's what SAO is after, a true existential dive into what is real and what the future could hold. The human species has superseded evolutionary norms. Survival of the fittest and select mutation is no longer necessary. Biologically, we have hit a brick wall thanks to our complete domination of the planet. We'll now either destroy it or jump into a new zenith with technological updates to the human anatomy. There's a lot of things to worry about in the modern world. Climate change, fresh water, overpopulation. However, data storage is also an issue due to the finity of natural resources. We're projected to hit 160 zettabytes a year by 2025, and all of that info has to be stored somewhere physically and then be able to be accessed electronically. However, our planet doesn't have enough microchip grade silicon to support that. We would be out by 2040, like completely out of it. So what are they doing instead? They're writing data on DNA. You can take every movie ever made, store it on DNA, and it would be about the size of a sugar cube, and it would last 10,000 years. DNA doesn't degrade like metal or plastic. The next step after that, writing accessible data on our DNA. Imagine having the complete information of the entire internet in your brain, immediately accessible. Sword art has only gotten more and more relevant as time marches on. It may be that the only solution to the collapse of our planet is to find a way out of physical form. An existentially terrifying Matrix-like future where our minds and nervous systems are all hardwired into a digital plane while our bodies are incubated. There's very little difference between synapse and binary, between physical and digital, especially when what you experience virtually also becomes physicality. That's why SAO continues to hold the attention of so many viewers despite its very obvious flaws, that and the waifus. In a very real way, it asks the questions of our future. It holds the themes of reality. Because the virtual world does matter, and we're only beginning to understand how much. So for all its faults, I always take a minute to acknowledge how far ahead of its time Sword Art Online truly was, and how only now our world is starting to catch up. Don't bang your cousins. We're definitely going to be going more into depth on these ideas when we cover things like Serial Experiments Lane and most likely Ghost in the Shell. Those are definitely coming in the future. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're getting real close to 100,000 subscribers. Excited to pass that milestone. Also, don't forget to go over to thepixelempire.com/bonsaipop and check out our brand new merch. And if you're interested, go to Patreon, sign up. Only costs $1. You get access to that new hoodie and 15% off our merch on top of the sale that's already going on. Can't get a better deal than that. Speaking of which, it's time to shout out our ultimate lucky patron of the week, Van Shineski. Thank you so much, my dude, for being our patron, helping to support the channel. We appreciate you so much. And everybody else on the platform, oh my God, thank you. It has been such a good month. You guys really came through when we needed you the most. And hey, if you're excited about the fact that we got merch and we covered Sword Art Online, you could have known about this days ago if you followed us on social media. That is Twitter and Instagram at bonsai_pop. It's right below me right now. I know it for sure. Do all the YouTube things. And with that said, I'm Mike. This is Bonsai Pop, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.